Right then, people, something different with my boy, Theo.
Pleasure. Nice to be
Before,
back.
before all these guys came on this channel, way back when, there was a man named Theo who I
I
said,
was.
Theo, do you want to come on the podcast? It's called Great Touch for a Big Lad. And he said,
Yes.
yeah. And he popped down, and here we are, mate, a long time down the road. We've just done a video on your channel reacting to what looked slightly like a farcical Champions League draw. But if you want to go watch that video and get our opinions on that, you can, of course. We sort of make our predictions right off the bat. I thought I had a chance to chat to you. What can we do? And he's got his gorgeous Bolton top on as well.
Exactly. I was waiting for that.
It's good. I rate it. I need to get mine. A little plug for Spencer. Bless him. He sent me the away kit. I'm absolutely gassed to put this on because I saw this. I said that's the best away kit you've done. Anyway, right, we're gonna do something a bit different actually, and we're gonna brutally honestly answer brutally difficult questions. But we were just chatting before we started recording there. We were talking about a brutal question. We were talking about the atmosphere. Is it British stadiums, English stadiums? I think for a long time there's been almost a arrogance amongst not English fans as a total thing, but at English grounds there's a feeling sometimes that that you don't want to have that organisation within a stadium to sort of get the crowd going, get the song going and all those things. And then there was a moment where everyone's kind of looking at Germany and Spain and, Scandinavia, and you're seeing, or Japan or China, and you're seeing a bit of organization can lead to an amazing atmosphere. But you were saying just before we started recording here that you think it's a little bit overrated.
I do. And that's a very tough word and people will quote that and they'll run with it. But if you give me an opportunity to explain it, I think what it comes down to is, first of all, I'm a well-traveled man. I've watched football on so many corners of the earth. I've seen it in Turkey. I've seen it in Serbia. I've been to watch football in Montenegro, and I've been to the other side, like you said, Scandinavian countries. And one thing I've realized is when people work together, you can put on a great show. And that's something I don't think English fans do enough of. Yes, we do sell the ticket numbers. We bring lots of fans wherever we go, and we sing loud when our team's doing well. But I feel what happens abroad is the clubs sometimes work with the fan bases to create incredible tifos or choreographies or pyro shows or things that really you remember and make history. And that is something I think we do lack in the English game. And people will always say, well, it's not English culture. We don't do tifos. We don't do these. We don't sing when we're losing. Fine, but it does kill the game. And for someone who does spend so much time in football stadiums, I truly believe that English football, in terms of audiences, is going in the wrong direction.
I agree with you, and I think people are like sheep a lot of the time, and they will just start to follow once one does it. And I think I'm guessing here, but it feels like maybe a Crystal Palace was first to do that, and they were on their own for a little bit, and people going, "Oh, it's a bit cringe" or whatever. I never thought that because you're getting a good atmosphere, and I think what we all have experienced at times is how a home atmosphere can change a game for you. That movement has to happen because I think otherwise, everyone just gets a bit sort of snobby. And then it's quiet and it's rubbish and you can't affect the game. Right, let's get to
now you get told off for standing up in football stadiums, and it's just like, what was it come to? In Galatasaray, the whole stadium stands up for 90 minutes. There's not one person sat down ever. And it's not because, their legs are hurting or whatever. No, they do it for the passion. They do it because they want to get behind them. And when they got that 3-3 draw against United, which was favoured against them, I can understand why. It's the extra 1% that helps. So, we could sit here and talk about it all day, but that is definitely a really good debate to begin this video, I think, James.
Yeah, and an awkward one as well. So that's the idea. It's going to be sort of awkward questions here. So let's make our way through it. Okay. United Micah. Was football more enjoyable 10 years ago than it is today? And you've got to be brutally honest in all of these, okay? Well, so we're going to wind some people up here. I know.
10 years ago, James, I was in Atletico Madrid away with Bolton in the UEFA Cup. And so my memories 10 years ago were incredible. They're my first football memories. If you are an English football fan, if you support Aston Villa or you support Brighton or Bolton, you'll know you have your moment in Europe and you will never forget that. And I'm so glad my dad, Thogden, as some of you may know him, took me on those trips. Even when I maybe didn't know if I had a massive interest in football, too young to know, but he just brought the whole family out. And I loved that. Great. Football broad, we know that players are better athletes now. the level of technique is much higher. But I do think that
enjoyable is the word here, though.
Yeah, it comes at expense of individuality. We don't have as many talents who can grab the ball, run past 3 or 4 and do a Ravel Morrison against Tottenham back in the day. Those memories are going to be gone, because if you want to be a Premier League footballer nowadays, you have to be up to a standard, and that standard is too high for individual moments anymore, which is why in this new generation of football, we're not seeing it as much. Personally, I agree with this statement that United Micah has made.
I would suggest there's a possibility that it was a bit more hopeful 10 years ago. Because, it's interesting you say this sort of the European tour. I've not had that. We're a similar club in terms of like my best friend's a Stoke City fan, and he's had that one. He had this sort of, it didn't go well, but he got that season. I've not got that season, but you're sort of hanging in there for the hope that you may one day get that season. For me, from a selfish point of view, it's about the ability to work your way through the leagues. I think has become harder, sort of less fair, if that makes any sense, with sort of the parachute payments. Now some use them better than others, and we were one of those. And there's no sympathy for QPR. I get it. Like, we spent way too much anyway and didn't get it right. Also, the sort of the focus on the top 6 and the disdain or the patronizing towards the rest is a bit of a problem, and I find that difficult sometimes. And actually, you start to see it in each levels. So you start to see it even in our draw. Even in the Champions League draw that we've just spoken about, what people start to say is, oh, there's no good ties here. What we're really saying is there's no ties between the absolute monster teams. And the reason they don't feel like good teams when it's Copenhagen against Man City is because football's gone so far and got stretched out so far with the haves and the have-nots that. But bizarrely, we look at the have-nots and go, oh, that's rubbish. And actually, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, you could have a Galatasaray or Dynamo Kyiv or whoever could go and take on a Man United and topple them. Now that all feels a little bit more far-fetched, I think.
Yeah, I think to agree to your point, you saw Red Star Belgrade's tifo against Manchester City. They said 1991 Champions League winners when football wasn't run by money, and that does nail down your point. And it agrees to say that, look at the Premier League point disparity this year. It's further than ever. That makes you realize that, well, if you're a QPR fan looking 10 years ahead, trying to get a European tour, it's probably going to be impossible.
It's starting to feel that way for sure. Yeah. Hines, will Manchester City overtake Manchester United within the game in the next 2 decades? I think they haven't they?
I think they're talking overall trophies.
Oh, wow.
The real question is, are City going to stay dominant to an extent where they just wipe United out? And as you said, could be 5 of the next 20 years. But that's a really tough question.
The manager after a Fergie, a Wenger, a Pep, a Klopp, it's an impossible job. And I think it's too difficult to succeed again after someone like that who's been there for that long leaves. So I think there will be a severe dip when Guardiola leaves. And, is Guardiola going to last more than 4 more years?
It's becoming harder and harder for him, isn't it? You can see it's stressing him out mentally. And he is the prime mover and the deciding factor of that club. Once he's gone, I think there will be a level of stagnation. It's impossible to replace a man that good at the club right now. They could suffer a similar fate to Man United after Sir Alex Ferguson left.
All in all, I think in 2 decades' time, and Man United as well, that at some point they will find, the woe of Man United. They're always going to have a lot of money, and they'll always have the opportunity to fix it. And so sooner or later they will fix it. So I think in 2 decades' time, let's put a neck on the line. Will they have more titles? Will Man City have more titles than Man United? I reckon they'll be even. Ooh. I reckon they'll have the exact same amount.
I'm going to go no, because the deciding factor for me is the crazy number of breaches that Man City are going to soon have to deal with. Those over 100 numbers not just going to disappear. And when it hits, it's going to hit hard. It's not just going to be like, oh, there's a few like an Everton, like a 10 point. No, you're going down. You might not be going down one league. You could be down. You could be playing bloody. You could be playing Bolton next week, lads. You could be playing at the Tough Sheet Community Stadium. All right. So let's not talk about Premier League titles as much as Manchester United under the best era of football ever. I think it's over, mate. Once that hits, and I don't look. over 100 breaches. If this one they're not guilty, on the others they are. I can't see a way out, and I think Pep will be gone by then. I think no, Manchester United will stay the most successful English club for a long amount of time.
That's a good point. Yeah, the breaches is God, that's going to be wild. If they go down a good few divisions. Interesting. We'll see. Jake Hodgson, if Pep Guardiola managed a club without financial support of the clubs he's been at, would he ever be considered as much as a great as he is? Many managers have become great by building teams with clubs with not much of a budget.
I hate when people say this. I hate it so much. It boils my blood because it's just like saying, oh, Guardiola's only doing well because he's got loads of cash. But he's the best at it. And what you have to remember, he's not the one with the checkbook. He's not the one negotiating the price of the players. He's saying, I want this player, bring him to me because it's got a level of technique or that suits his style of play. So the money side is not done by him. He just wants the player that fits his style. And that, by the way, that style is one of the most successful in the new generation. So I think the simple answer to Jake's question is he would be able to do it with a less financial club, but it would take more time because the players will have a price tag. And by the way, at a smaller club, they wouldn't be offering as much because they won't be like, oh, it's Man City, we can price it at this. It'll be like, oh, it's Leicester City. We'll have to be a bit cleverer with what we price it at. So I do think Pep would still be as successful, but he would need more time, which, by the way, he'd get more time because at a smaller club, you're not as much under the pressure. So to answer Jake's question, I think, yes, he would be able to still be successful because he understands what he needs to do in football. And yeah, give him more time, I think it'll work.
I think you're spot on, mate. I totally agree. The thing with Barcelona is he brought in Busquets from Barca B. He brought in players from, so a lot of players there that he sort of was with, and actually got rid of Ronaldinho, got rid of big names to sort of make way for what he wanted in his vision. So I would love to see him do it, and we'll never get to see that, which is a shame. He would have found his way to the top, I think, regardless, because I think he's just got an outrageous mind. Is it really you? Is the Twitter handle. Should Klopp leave Liverpool for a new, younger manager to keep them progressing?
If you're Jurgen Klopp, you're thinking, we're the longest standing Premier League manager. We're still winning things. We're still up for things. But at what point does he hang up the boots and think, my job is done now, lead it to someone else? I just don't know if that time is now. I think Jurgen Klopp's era as a Liverpool manager isn't done. I think there's still trophies to be won. He hasn't won the Europa League yet. Get that done. And next season, he'll be back in the Champions League, maybe continues to make signings. I don't think, I can't see the new young manager right now that's going to walk into Liverpool. And what do you think?
Again, another video. We've done a video about Alonso, and there's there's a race to get him, and there are other options for him. But if Klopp goes in 2026 and Alonso is available,
that's a good one.
And
Xabi Alonso.
And was to stay at Leverkusen until that point. In terms of being ready and also Klopp being ready to walk away, Klopp should absolutely not leave right now or until 2026. Even if say a Xabi Alonso is available, I don't think it's worth it. I think if you've got an amazing manager with the prestige that he has, the energy that he still has, clearly, you don't throw that away just to get a shiny young thing. We've seen that go wrong a million times.
Yeah.
So I think there is a very difficult question in 2026 that you've got to make where you go, look, Jurgen, this has been amazing, but we don't want to miss out on that guy. If you think that Xabi Alonso is that guy, that's the thing that's difficult, but absolutely not.
But James, the problem is you're going to have every club wanting Xabi Alonso. Real Madrid have shown their interest, and when they come knocking, it's hard to say no. We saw Jude Bellingham pick Madrid over Liverpool, and it wouldn't surprise me if Xabi did the same.
Yeah, that's a tough one to walk away from. But you also know that if it doesn't work at Real Madrid quickly, you're gone. Jack, why are there no ballers anymore? And everyone is shoehorned into rigid formations.
It's very close to our first question, wasn't it? And how was football more enjoyable 10 years ago? Because I based that answer a lot off the likes of Ronaldinho, who were able to run around teams. Kaká, who was one of the best players of the generation that, okay, maybe didn't have the best goals and assists season by season, but you watched him and he was incredible. I don't know why we've become so focused on just ticking that amount of goals or beating that. And that's why formations are playing towards just getting the goals up And that breaks down solo individual talent. And that's what I think has changed.
Yeah. Do you know what? Again, another video we've done is tactical trends of 2024. And I actually, through that conversation, I feel much better about it, actually, because I think that there is a sort of ebb and flow and cycle to tactics. And the reason why positional play works so well is it's efficient. It's an efficient use of the pitch and the ball.
Yeah.
That said, I think a trend next year will be that you need one guy. You need a Maddison. You need a Bellingham. You need one guy who has that freedom, because everyone knows how everyone plays. And so I think that you will be allowed that free roll 10, I think, will come back pretty heavily.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. And because that one guy in an overloaded situation should be able to take some players out of the game, because that's the only way you can solve it. Because if everyone just stays in their lanes, then that's difficult. You have to go and solve problems. And I think there'll be players like that will be given that freedom to go and do it.
What I think it boils down to is academies and the way we're now taught. You're taught into a system. You're not taught to be yourself. And that's the real problem. The manager wants you to run down the left and beat your man. He doesn't want you to try and beat him and then put it top bins. You know, we're losing those moments in football because it's more efficient to do what the manager says.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is CFC Vils. Will the current ownership strategy at Chelsea succeed? Good question.
They've clearly broken rules, not broken rules, but they've bent the guidelines that have now been adapted. So, for example, paying per year for the next 8 years on players like, you know, all the players they bought, from Madueke to Cole Palmer to Nico Jackson to all of them, and Kunku. So the problem with that is they have to keep them, don't they? They're not just going to. How's it going to work with financial fair play if they decided to sell them throughout that 8-year period? They'll have to pay up all the cash. So I don't know how that's going to work. So they're stuck with these guys no matter what. Are they going to come off? Are they going to find the right manager? Is Pochettino the answer? I'm going to throw that back at you, James. Do you think Pochettino is going to be there for the long run?
No, not at the moment. Well, unless there's sort of, there's a real, it's very in vogue at the moment, people going, in particular Man United and Chelsea, we're going, well, we can't sack another manager.
Yeah.
And so that manager is getting the time. I like Pochettino. I think he's a good manager. Right at the start, I thought this doesn't totally make sense for me in terms of him being that sort of Chelsea guy, but I guess he was the best manager knocking about at the time. The next 18 months is so important for this ownership. If these players start to come good, then you'll be able to kind of figure it out and get into the competitions you need to get into, and maybe sell them on if it's not going to work out. Like, overall, the prices and the strategy on paper make sense. But what they've forgotten about is that this is such a young squad. I think they are really sort of melting under the pressure a little bit of it all. To answer the question, will the current ownership strategy at Chelsea succeed? I don't think it will. I think it'll be a bit of a disaster.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'll ever do it again.
That's really, it's something that's never been done before. So as football fans sitting back, you're thinking, okay, if Todd Bowley's the first to do it, how much football knowledge does he have to pull this off? I don't trust that he knows how to run a football club as well as the tip top in this game. I think he's a great businessman, but it's not all about business. And football is the hardest business to run in the world. And a club like Chelsea, after Abramovich and how successful he was with his decision-making, and her and Marina Glavaslova did such a great job, you know, working with other clubs to, you know, even the loan buy style tactic that they had, from that to keeping players that they wanted and making them feel at home. I don't think anyone can replicate what Abramovich did. It's very underrated. And of course, it came with a lot of money, but he did it in the right places. I feel like Todd Bowley, come future transfer windows, I don't think because of financial fair play, they'll have anything to spend. They'll be stuck with players, whether they like them or not. So I agree with you, James. I don't think this current strategy is going to work.
Callum, should Chelsea sell Reece James? Wow.
That's heartbreak, isn't it? The captain. You've got rid of Mason Mount, and that is the right decision.
They need to make 75 mil every summer, apparently. There is an actual argument here. There's a very sane argument to go, this guy, as unbelievable as he is, gets injured regularly, and if we need to sell someone and make money, there could be someone smart enough, stupid enough, I don't know, to go, we'll give you 90 million for this guy because we know he's world class, and we'll make sure he stays fit. It's an interesting idea because for the buying club, because Brentford are like that. Brentford bought Damsgaard, and they brought Damsgaard because they felt like, oh, okay, he's got problems with injury, but we can probably get you on the cheap. You're more talented than what we are normally able to purchase, and we think that we can work with you in a way that's going to allow you to stay fit.
Yeah.
So there might be a club that wants to do that.
I think Reece James is a player that's just too injury prone, and the amount they pay per week, it doesn't financially make sense to keep him. If I was in the Chelsea board, I would suggest really selling him. And I understand the cost of it. He's a local boy. He's a brilliant face for the brand. He's a great player on his day. But the problem is he doesn't play enough. And I think if Chelsea want to progress as a club, constantly worrying about their first team right back being injured is not right. Look, I'm an England fan. He's not been in any of the Euros or the World Cups recently because you just can't guarantee that he's going to be fully fit. So I'm as much as it's painful for Chelsea fans to know, I think selling him would be the best idea.
It reminds me of Kieran Tierney a little bit, where it's, as great as he was, it just you couldn't do it. And then you had a guy, there are other footballers out there, which sounds bizarre because I always kind of rate Reece James so highly, but their hands might be tied. Chelsea, they might need they might have to sell him. Last few, Matthias. Which manager in the Premier League has the most annoying personality?
Oh, you want me to say Ange here? I like Ange. I think he's brilliant. I love him. I think it is a topic we must digress.
Oh, are people starting to say he's annoying? They've had enough of him a day. Yeah, I think they've had enough about people loving him. That's the thing. That's probably
and even after losses, saying positive things about him when other managers would be scrutinized in the media.
Sure, I think the problem is that you have a lot of managers have so much spotlight on them, and then when they don't behave in a way that you think's becoming of a manager, then you think they're a bit of a brat.
We've got to pick one. The comments are probably going crazy right now, James. They're probably saying, "Why haven't you said Jurgen Klopp? Why haven't you said?"
Well, I think so. With that idea in mind, I think there's two that do spring to mind. I think Arteta has been disappointing in the way that he's behaved. I think.
I you know what, James? That's a great shout.
Do you know this is a weird one? It's a bit of a weird one. But I just don't think we'd get on Sean Dyche. I just don't think we'd get on.
Mate, I was on the piss with him this summer in Portugal.
Was he right?
He's a top guy.
Oh, is he?
He gets on the piss massively. Like, big time. He was out drinking me, and he's grabbing us. He's a proper strong geezer. And we had a photo with him, had a good chat. James, I'm telling you, trust me.
Yeah, we like Dyche, do we? Okay.
Do you think De Zerbi would be a nice guy?
I think he's intense, isn't he?
He's like that annoying teacher that gets you good grades, but you don't like him.
De Zerbi's a shout because they're just can we talk about something else? Like, we just talk about football all the time. I think this season, the manager I've been most disappointed with is Mikel Arteta, which is I'll go De Zerbi then. Which is the wrong fan base to piss off, but.
No, you don't want to.
I think he could have behaved a little bit better. And I've backed him from day one when everyone wanted him out. So don't jump on me too hard. Which Manchester United players are actually good enough?
Wow. Okay.
Let me hone that in. Is Marcus Rashford?
Yeah.
Does he need to move on?
Yes. And I said it before. I said it before this season. I said it when he was playing good at Manchester United. I honestly feel a European club is the answer. We've seen it with Bellingham. We've seen it with Harry Kane. There's so much media about him, so much press.
I agree.
Get him to PSG. Get him to a club that will give him the money that he wants, where he can build a new, circle in a new city. And just English media is disgusting. It's so low and bad, and it's horrible for a player like him. He needs to sack it all off, narrow down his PR team. Forget all that. Stop thinking about the brand right now and start getting it on the pitch, because that's what everything boils down to. If you don't get goals, all this PR nonsense means nothing. You need to start getting goals on the pitch and doing that by moving abroad. That's personally what I would suggest to him.
With 6 months until Euro 2024, what's your honest opinion on England's chances? We're on a Zoom call. We've got 2 minutes on this Zoom call.
I love that question.
6 months to go. Euro 2024.
I love that question.
Honest opinion on England's chances. Go.
I'll get straight to it. I think we've never had... This is golden era. People talk about golden eras. This is it. Jude Bellingham, world-class player. England don't make players like him. Harry Kane at Bayern Munich, he's got his mind on England. He does. The only time he's thinking about England is that Euros. I was at the Euros. I was at every England Euros match. It was unbelievable. I was in a state of just excitement and love. And then the final came and it was just tragic. We started so well. Luke Shaw with the goal, and I think it was too good to be true at Wembley. I have full confidence that we go to Germany and win that tournament because we are better than everyone else. My biggest worry as a country is France.
I agree. My head says this is it. We will win it. We're going to win this one. I really believe it. And I don't normally say that. I'm always sort of aware of that. But I think it's time to say it because I don't think you could dodge around that issue anymore. This team is unbelievable.
Yeah,
you're right. France has a similar amount of depth. Spain is always a good team as well.
It can be pretty good.
And I think the route in the Euros is very difficult. So there's always a chance you can get knocked out by absolutely anyone. We saw that in the Euros last year. But it's there for us. The one thing I fear is that it might get too much. So the team needs to really kind of bunker down when they get to the Euros, because I think there's going to be so much noise and people are hoping that Southgate doesn't do it, because you have been on one side or the other this whole time, and this is the last chance for Southgate. I've got a few seconds left, so I just want to say to you, Theo, thank you, mate. If you've somehow,
mate, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We had a good chat on my channel as well. Yes, great to be back on the GLA show. I love it. I love it here. And all the best to you, okay?
Always care. Welcome, mate. Good man. All right, guys, go check out Thogden if you haven't. If you enjoyed that and you want me to do that with other people, let me know by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel, and let me know your answers in the comments down below.